Namibian listeners, this is the Charles speaking. I am from Russia. I am recording a message for you to play in your educational programs in the future. We shall give the message to Namco Studio to broadcast. You asked the time. It is the 1900s.
Oh, Alexi, that sounds rough. The Namibians might think he's angry. They won't know that is just how he sounds because he has so much authority.
Why is he speaking to Namibians?
It's a series of lessons. He's starting with lesson 1 today because he is a Tsar, the king. He has to record our life for other times to know about. He's telling them about life under the Romanov family in the early 1900s in Russia.
My goodness, I hope he doesn't want me to speak to. How many lessons will there be?
Shh, he's saying it.
This will be the first of 5 lessons on depth study Russia. In the future, our advisors are telling us there will be a lot of fake news. We are preempting that trend by explaining the class system in Mother Russia in the early 1900s. The aim of this lesson is to build your contextual knowledge. This means we can help you understand that knowledge has to be seen in context, yeah?
Oh goodness, there he goes again.
Russia is ruled by Tsars. We Tsars have ultimate authority on all matters of governance.
Oh dear, the future Namibians are not gonna like the Tsar race family.
They might as well know about the oppressive system our family has created, Katja. There is no room for change here.
Yes, but can't you see the result of that? How it's causing revolutionary ideas and aspiration to start brewing in various places in the Martaland.
I want the future generations to know, even from as young as grade 10 and 11, that Russia was ruled by the Romanov family for over 300 years.
One day you'll be a Tsar too, Alexei.
That's what Dad keeps telling me.
So let me tell you about the class system in Russia during the rule of the Tsar. Tsar's Russia was divided into separate social classes, which has changed since the feudal system of the past.
I had better listen. He's gonna ask me to repeat every word again this evening.
Yes, as he usually does.
The ruling class is the elite, the nobles, only the Tsar and the royal family. We are privileged because we own a lot of land. We are the aristocrats. Other elites are the land-owning nobles, wealthy merchants, and high-ranking members of the Orthodox Church, the civil servant, and the military. The ruling class makes up about 13% of the population.
Now he's going to tell them about the upper class. People will not automatically understand that the rich is not part of inner circle of the Tsar.
Then there is the upper class. They own all the land and they are dependent on the Tsar. Under myself, of course, the rich upper class dominates all positions of influence in the army and civil service. And I notice that the landowners are conservative. They want to protect their wealth, and I see that they are not eager for change.
Next, he's going to give his spiel about the Bongazi. There he goes.
Now, the middle class, or the bourgeoisie. They are a small group of civil servants. They are doctors, lawyers, merchants, and businessmen that have emerged during the time of industrialization in the 1900s. These people are educated, more knowledgeable about the world, and have new ideas on reform. More than other ordinary Russians. I don't like them. They will one day threaten my authority.
Then there is the working class. He's gonna talk about them now.
And now you are going to ask me, Oh, great Tsar! Who then does the work in Russia? To which I will say, the working class in Russia at this time is only 4% of the population. These are workers in our factories in the developing cities and towns. They are craftspeople, they are soldiers and sailors.
Yeah, but what he's not saying is how the working class suffers. Their wages are very low, their employment is not stable, their working conditions are very poor.
True. Their housing is insufficient and overcrowded. Ugh, it looks terrible in their neighborhoods. The situation is really tough.
All that remains is the lowest class, the peasants. That's too terrible to listen to. I'm gonna block my ears now.
More than 80% of the population are peasants. They live in the countryside. They include farmers and those who rent from them as serfs and kulaks. Oh, you don't know these terms? Maybe there are no peasants in Namibia in future? No? Oh, the kulaks are rich. They are rich land-owning peasants. The kulaks also own serfs. They are the property of the kulaks. Until 1861, most of the peasants are serfs. This means they are the property of the landowner. But in 1861, my father Alexander II abolished serfdom. This was not a good move in my opinion. Many peasants' lives are worse now. Even I feel bad the ridiculously high taxes they now have to pay the government for the redistribution of land.
Ugh, yeah, it's terrible. Landowners charge enormously high rents. No wonder people want improvements in the whole system of governments.
Yes, it is so unfair. Some people have like heaven and earth, and for others, just the opposite. Let's run, Alexi, so he won't see if we're listening in. He has finished his speech.
Alexi!
Yes, sir.
Sit. Sit.
Yeah, yes, Dad.
I recorded a lecture for posterity today.
Yes, Dad.
I would hang my head in shame if those school children in Namibia in the 21st century who turn out to know more about the Romanovs than the Romanov family itself.
They won't, Dad.
Then tell me, who rules Russia?
Russia is ruled by us, the Romanov family, Father, by a succession of tsars with absolute authority on all matters of government. The Romanov family has ruled over 300 years, and you, O Tsar, are the king of Russia. There is no room for anyone to try to change this, and will suppress any brewing revolutionary ideas and aspirations as they bubble up.
And do you understand our class system in Russia during the rule of the Tsars, Alexei?
Of course I do, Father. Tsarist Russia is divided into separate social classes. Although things are changing nowadays, you must admit, Father, since the feudal systems of the past.
And when you take the throne, you have better suppress those who are always want change.
Yes, Father.
Tell me how the class system in Russia works, son.
Yes, Father. The ruling class is the elite. That's us, the Tsar and the royal family. We are privileged because we own a lot of land. We are the aristocrats.
But we are not the only elites, Varda. The land-owning nobles, wealthy merchants, and high-ranking members of the Orthodox Church, civil service and military, they are all part of the elite too.
Quiet, Katya. The affairs of state are for men. Although you are correct, of course, together the ruling class makes up just about 13% of the Russian population. Tell me more about the nobility, Alexei.
The nobility are the upper class. They own all the land and everybody depends on the goodness of the Tsar. The nobility dominates the positions of influence in the army and civil service. Landowners must also protect their wealth and resist change in society. They must make sure that the landless peasants can only lease poor land for high rents.
Yes, of course. But before you talk about peasants, tell me about the bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie is the middle class. It's a small group of civil servants like doctors, lawyers, traders, and businessmen. They emerged during the time of industrialization in the 1890s. They are educated, aren't they, father? The middle class are more knowledgeable about the world and have new ideas on reform, more than other ordinary Russians.
They should be careful. I am keeping an eye on them. Now, what about the working class?
They are a small group, only 4% of the population of Russia at this time. These are people working in factories and developing cities and towns.
But there's also craftspeople, soldiers, sailors. The working classes suffers very much, father, from very low wages, unstable employment, and poor conditions, and their housing is insufficient and overcrowded.
Katya, it is not for you to undermine the men of this family with your sorry heart. When you are done with school, you can become a nurse and help those poor people. Until then, stay out of the affairs of state.
Yes, father.
The peasants, Alexei.
Yes, father. More than 80% of the population of Russia today are peasants who live in the countryside. They consist of farmers and those who rent from them, meaning the serfs.
Slaves.
Katya, leave the table.
Yes, father.
Yes. The peasants are the farmers and those who rent from them, like the serfs. But some peasants are also rich and own land like the kulaks. Until 1861, most of the peasants were serfs, meaning that they were the property of the landowners. But our uncle, Alexander II, abolished reform in 1861. This did not improve the lives of the peasants, though, because they now have to pay really high taxes to the government for the distribution of land. The landowners charge them astronomical sums in rent.
That's good, my son. This was the end of my lesson. Time for bed. Listeners, this was a program by NAMCOL for the Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate Advanced Subsidiary History for Grade 12s. I hope you have enjoyed our lesson. NAMCOL program developer Yul van Harte invites you to join us again very soon for lesson 2. Then in lesson 2, we will discuss another chapter in the history of the Russian world. For now, goodbye.
This lesson is produced by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture.